I'm Lori Blockus with Om Sweet Om Yoga in Spooner, Wisconsin. Today I'm going to show you a reclined cross-leg position and how that can be helpful for people with really tight hips, especially versus a seated cross-leg position. So if you're interested in just a seated cross-leg position, you can check out my video on that. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead with the reclined cross-leg position, or Supta Sukhasana, it would be called in Sanskrit. So to help us along with this, I'm going to have two yoga blocks here. If you don't have yoga blocks, and a lot of people don't, you can just look around and see what you have. That might be folded up blankets or pillows, anything that will give your legs the support that they might need. And if it turns out you don't need any supports, then fantastic, just set it aside. So to come into this position, I'm just going to flip around lengthwise on my mat and move myself into a reclined position here, something comfortable. And then I'm just going to take that very same cross-leg position that we would have had seated. So I'm going to start with my right shin in front, just crossing my right shin in front of my left and working my feet a little bit out to the side so they end up under the opposite thigh or knee, and just letting my knees drop down as low as they comfortably will. So don't worry here in this reclined version if your knees actually get lower than your hip joint or hip crest. Totally different posture in that respect. So just let them drop down as far as they comfortably can. Now, in this position, we're not feeling the resistance in the outer hip or thigh. You're going to feel it more in the front of the hip joint somewhere. So you need to be sure that it's still comfortable and not felt in the knees. If you're feeling something in the knees, we need to make adjustments. If your legs won't let go, if they just won't release, we need to make some adjustments. So you might feel like your legs are jerking a little bit, kind of involuntarily. You might be inclined to bring your hands down to hold your legs higher, or you might be inclined to actually arch your lower back up away from the floor a lot. So if any of these things are happening, go to your supports, whether it's blocks or pillows or whatever, and just place those underneath your thighs wherever it works out. So it doesn't matter how high your knees get up away from the floor here. Just let your props be as high as they need to be. So that might mean that they're pretty darn high. What you want to have happen is for this area to feel a little pull, but it's not so intense that you can't just relax everything into it. So just allow your body to relax here wherever that positioning is for you. And I would recommend holding this position on each side for a good 2 minutes. Just let it relax. If you can hold it for about 2 minutes, that'll turn it into what's called a Yin Posture. So it'd be a reclined square pose in Yin Yoga. And the muscles are still going to get stretched there, but also the connective tissue, like the fascia, will get worked. Once you're here, you can just relax into it. Really, you can do whatever's comfortable with your arms. They're not really the primary focus of this position. So I'm pretty happy here just resting them on my rib cage. You might like to just send them down along the floor. If you want an additional stretch in the belly, you can see if you're comfortable putting the arms up overhead. Now, I haven't quite been here 2 minutes, I don't believe. But if you've been here long enough that your connective tissue does get worked, it's going to feel really, really bizarre when you come out of this position. So you might want to use your arms a lot to help you, and you might want to use your feet too. Basically, don't ask these muscles on the inner thighs or around the hips to engage right away to lift the legs back up. So I'm going to send my hands down to the outer thighs and just work my feet back in towards center. Once you get everything back to the top, you might want to just windshield wiper the legs if your hips feel it all stiff. So if you're working connective tissue, it's really slow to move, and that means that you can feel a little bit stiffer when you come out of the postures, but in the long run, you'll be actually getting more mobile. So when you're ready, you can just reverse the cross of the legs. So that'll be left shin in front. So I've got my thighs and my knees pulled pretty closely together here, and I'm kind of shuffling my feet out to the opposite side again. That's going to pull my knees down. So eventually we can just rest the legs down
wherever they're comfortable. So prop under the thighs if you need to keep everything comfortable. Ankles, knees, hips, lower back. Just let everything relax into this posture so you're not holding and gripping with your muscles. So what this does for people who are maybe a little excessively tight, like tighter than the average bear in a seated cross-leg position, oftentimes these people have really tight muscles in the front of that hip joint, and it just doesn't allow their knees to drop down toward the floor no matter what they do. So a good tool when you're seated, as stated in that video, would be to elevate your hips up, but you can also work this just nice relaxing reclined position to give these muscles in the front a more formal stretch of their own. Be sure to relax the belly while you're here, so truly let it do nothing but rise and fall with the breath. So it'll feel actually a little bit hollow in your abdomen as you finish your exhale. It is a funny position in that as you hold it for a while, you might find that your support needs change. You may find that these tissues release quite a bit, and you can remove supports if you're using them. You might find that it releases more than your body's comfortable with, and you might actually need to add some supports back in after you've been here a while. So when you're ready to come out, again, I'm going to let my hands and my feet help me so these muscles that have stretched a lot don't have to just shorten up and grab on right away. So I'm going to elevate my legs a bit with my hands, walk my feet back in toward each other to help the knees come up to the top. And again, maybe you want to just windshield wiper the legs here. I think no wrong way to do this. You don't have to be really fast with the motion, but if it feels good to let one leg drop and then kind of lazily follow it with the other, that's okay. Just do whatever feels good to your hips and your lower back. And when you're ready, you can just roll on to your right side. Use a lot of arms here to help yourself press up, coming back into a comfortable seated position. So if you're really tight with this position, the seated cross-leg position, you might want to try the reclined position first and just help these tissues open up. So this is what needs to release so your knees can drop down for the seated version that I'm in now. Hope that helps you out. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.